Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're diving into something completely unexpected, but literally mind-blowing. We're looking at a deeply precise framework for understanding modern corporate human resources using the ancient esoteric science of Vedic astrology. I know, it sounds a little wild at first, right? But stick with me, because when you look at the source material, the blueprint it provides for workplace performance is just undeniably striking.
So, here is our roadmap for today. We're going to cover Mars as the commander of human potential, the chief action officer, winning the talent battlefield, astrological placements in HR, and finally, managing human energy. Let's get right into it.
Think about the modern corporate crisis for a second. You know what I'm talking about. Burnout, quiet quitting, toxic office politics, and just a general lack of engagement. What if the root of all that isn't just bad management? What if it's actually a misalignment of a fundamental underlying energy? Our source material poses a really compelling question here. What invisible force actually drives workplace performance, courage, and discipline? Let's find out.
That brings us to Section 1, Commander of Human Potential, Redefining Mars.
So, that invisible force? It's Mars. Now, we are definitely not talking about the horoscope you'd skim in the Sunday paper. In Vedic astrology, Mars, or Mangal, is the planet of action. It's courage. It's absolute discipline and execution. When you translate that into an HR framework, Mars isn't just a zodiac sign, it's a foundational diagnostic tool. It literally becomes the commander of human potential. It is the driving force behind employee motivation and leadership strength.
Take a second and just mentally audit your own workplace. Do you spot any of these red flags? Weak leadership, delayed execution, where projects just drag on forever, or maybe low morale, crazy internal politics, and a culture that's driven by fear instead of actual accountability. Well, if your company feels stuck in the mud, this framework suggests you might be dealing with a missing or super weak Mars energy.
Which leads perfectly into Section 2, the Chief Action Officer, Leadership and Motivation.
There is a remarkably stark contrast between channeling this energy constructively versus letting it run totally unchecked. A balanced Mars culture gives you the ultimate professional environment. We're talking strict punctuality, high responsibility, competitive excellence, and deep professionalism. But when it's imbalanced, that exact same energetic fire turns into toxic aggression, rapid employee burnout, and destructive workplace politics. It is a massive double-edged sword.
And we see this exact dual nature on an individual level too. The balanced Mars employee, that's your absolute star player. They are goal-oriented, action-focused, and incredibly self-motivated. But if that same employee has an afflicted or imbalanced Mars energy, they become aggressive, impatient, and constantly at the center of office conflict. So the big takeaway for HR is you have to learn how to positively channel that passion. You can't just suppress a high-energy employee. It'll totally backfire. You've got to give that fire a productive target.
Let's move on to Section 3, Winning the Talent Battlefield, Recruitment and Conflict.
Because let's be honest, recruitment is a battlefield. And according to the source material, Mars governs this space completely. A strong Mars energy allows HR to aggressively hunt top talent and make lightning-fast hiring decisions. That naturally attracts ambitious, high-performing teams. Conversely, a weak Mars leads to a really passive workforce, agonizingly slow hiring cycles, and ultimately, you end up losing the best candidates to faster, more decisive competitors.
It's fascinating how this energy maps directly to specific, everyday HR roles. For a recruiter, Mars acts as their competitive hiring power. For an HR manager, it dictates discipline and leadership. Corporate trainers rely on it for motivational energy, while performance managers use it for enforcing goals. Every single function that requires execution, motivation, or courage relies heavily on this specific energetic blueprint.
Of course, with all that high energy comes friction. In conflict resolution, Mars dictates exactly how ego clashes start and escalate. Now, while Mars gives HR leaders the courage to actually face problems head-on instead of avoiding them, it can't act alone. To avoid things getting toxic, Mars has to be balanced with Mercury for clear communication, Jupiter for deep wisdom, and the Moon for emotional intelligence. It's a deeply interconnected ecosystem of energies.
Let's get a bit technical in Section 4, Astrological Placements in HR, the Technical Blueprint.
Looking at the actual cosmic blueprints, it's amazing how specific planetary placements translate directly to fast execution and action-oriented leadership. Mars, in the 10th house, indicates massive leadership success. In the 6th house, it signifies total victory over workplace competition. When Mars teams up with the Sun, you get raw executive power. And when it's paired with Jupiter, you get really ethical, wise leadership.
On the flip side, spotting challenging placements is an incredible early warning system. The text points out that Mars afflicted by Rahu is actually the root spark of toxic office politics. Mars paired with Saturn? That causes immense stress and deep frustration, literally like trying to drive with the parking brake on. And just an overall weak Mars leads to a complete lack of confidence and initiative, which creates those delayed execution cycles we talked about earlier.
Bringing it all together, we hit Section 5, Managing Human Energy, Lessons and Dharma.
Synthesizing all of this leaves us with 5 absolutely crucial HR takeaways. First up, courage wins respect. Employees only follow leaders who actually take action. Second, discipline builds culture. Without it, talent just turns into chaos. Third, healthy competition drives growth. Fourth, and this is key, suppressed energy creates toxicity. People absolutely need a purpose for their drive. And finally, leadership requires fire. Organizations simply do not grow unless leaders are willing to act fearlessly.
Taking it one step further, the source material introduces a really profound spiritual dimension. In Vedic philosophy, Mars represents dharma, meaning righteous duty through action. It's essentially a warrior mentality that's focused on fearless responsibility. When you have an evolved, balanced Mars, it creates a highly protective, mission-driven culture. This is the ultimate antidote to the plagues of quiet quitting and low engagement. It transforms raw human energy into purposeful, highly ethical achievement.
I want to leave you with this deeply provocative thought from the source material. HR does not manage employees. HR manages human energy. And in Vedic astrology, the planet that controls human energy is Mars. Think about that for a second. It completely flips how we view the workplace. You aren't just managing tasks or people, you are managing a fiery, dynamic energy. So the real question is, in your organization, is that fire keeping the engine running, or is it burning the building down? Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer.